What's going on, everybody? Ratchet Wrench is back for another video. Today is part 2 of the bigger turbo series on the Audi S3, and today's the day we're actually going to be installing the turbo. If you guys haven't seen the previous video, it's pretty much the MPI kit and the low pressure fuel pump and all the fueling components that go along with it. But in today's video, it's strictly just swapping out that turbo, the IS38, to the Vortex XL. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So as you can see here, we have obviously the XL turbo, the Vortex, and we got the calibrated wastegate. We didn't want to fool with that and get it calibrated and whatnot, so we just went ahead and got that pre-installed and calibrated. This thing is a beauty. I cannot wait to install this and really see how much power this thing puts down. So it's going to be fun to install this. It's not the hardest of installs, but of course it comes with the gasket, it comes with the little donut for the downpipe, and then all the hardware and O-rings along with it, because you'll have all those oil lines and coolant lines that you're definitely going to want to replace those those O-rings. And of course we decided to tie this in this video because we are going to have to remove the coil pack, so we decided to get some better spark plugs, and these are the NGK 4656 according to EQT. Those are the ones to run, so we went ahead and got those. And then a couple other things that we got that did not come with the kit, but I went ahead and just ordered myself, is this little O-ring, this little gasket. It's going to be for the turbo muffler. Of course, I have the turbo muffler delete, so I'm going to put a brand new gasket in there. And then I got this little coolant pipe here. I've done turbos on Audis and Mark 7 GTIs multiple times, and this coolant hose, this little pipe, it seizes up in there, so it tends to snap. So I just went ahead and get a new one. It's like a couple bucks. I'll link it down below. Definitely get it, because odds are you will break this removing that turbo, and it's good to have. It's cheap, and can't hurt to just get it as a preventative maintenance. If you don't use it, it is what it is, but nice to have it. So that's enough of this. Let's start tearing that apart and get ready to remove the IS38 and go big boy. Alright, so the first thing you're going to want to do is drain the coolant. Once again, we did the other day the part 1, so the coolant is completely empty. But if you don't know how to do that, just remove the cap and disconnect the lower radiator hose and let that drain out, because you're already going to be disconnecting all the coolant lines up top. The first thing we're going to want to do after that is pretty much get everything up out of the way. So we're going to talk the wire harnesses for the coil packs, and we're going to go ahead and take the wire harness off the bypass valve, and then of course all of these little solenoids down here, we'll get those out of the way, and of course to the adjusters and everything. And yeah, as you can see, we've got the intake off. You have to get that off as well, and let's just start getting this wire harness off and everything out of the way. So let's do it. Alright, so now that we got this whole wire harness on that side disconnected, we're just going to kind of twist it before we get to removing the coil pack. So let's just go ahead and disconnect this coolant pipe and get that out of the way as well. So we'll go ahead and remove this. T30s. Okay, that one there. There's going to be one right there. And then there's going to be one right here, which we actually already took off from the previous install. Get that one out. And I'm going to need the short guy to get that guy. So now I'm going to go ahead and just kind of disconnect all these little hose clamps. Get these coolant lines. Probably going to have to break the seal on a lot of them, because coolant will tend to corrode a little bit. Okay. Just kind of twist it around a little bit. Be careful on pulling this stuff. These hose clamp pliers are the best thing ever invented. I will link them down below. Definitely get them for any Audi, Euro, BMW, anything. Okay. This one here. So we actually have an aftermarket catch can set up, so we're just going to disconnect this guy right here, just so we get access to this thing. And okay, and we'll have to do that bottom one in just a little bit. So now that we got that aftermarket catch can out of the way, let's go ahead and get these little solenoids, and they are going to be just a T25. Just a little bolt like that, and then just kind of got to wiggle. It's got a nice little O-ring in there, so just inspect them before you put them on too. But we'll just kind of line them up in order, and we'll go from there. And I'll just cue up the little B-roll. A little shake. Boom. So now that we got kind of everything out of the way, we just got some O2 sensors. We're gonna get this turbo inlet out and then disconnect this discharge pipe there. And then of course we'll get this heat shield, and then we'll have to disconnect the down pipe. I know the book says to take the down pipe out of the way, but then you gotta take the drive shaft out of the way. We're just gonna kind of push it to the side, and we'll get enough clearance there. So I'm just gonna kind of put you on like a B-roll and kind of just get cracking, because it's all just gonna be T30s, T25s, and you can watch it unfold. So as you just saw, we just removed this down pipe. You don't have to remove it. You could just tuck it out of the way. You'll have plenty of room to clear that. But the last thing that's really holding this in, besides the four nuts, the flange holding it to the head, is there's a bracket that's mounting the turbo to the block. And you really won't be able to see that, but it's down here. You'll see it when you're like actually in here. It should be an Allen key on the one side, and then a maybe like a 13 or a 14. And then we'll start cranking on these studs, and just all the miscellaneous hoses. So we went ahead and got this little line off, and they are really stubborn to get in there. Soak these things. This line I am leaving on the turbo. I'm gonna remove it off the car because it's just a nightmare to get off. So I disconnected it from this coolant hose there, and that's a coolant line, so we'll get that off the car. And then there's a coolant line in the back here, which are gonna be triple squares, NT30s. And then the one that's a royal pain in the ass is the line that mounts from the bottom. I actually leave it on the turbo and disconnect the hose clamp, which goes to the block, and take that off and remove it off the car. It just makes life a lot easier. So just wanna say, use WD-40 and definitely take your time. Try not to bend the lines or kink them either.
One eternity later.
As you can see, we got some daylight now. It is the next day. We actually got the turbo off. We grinded off camera. Really, it was just a pain in the ass to really get everything off. So we disconnected the turbo in two to try and wiggle it out. It's just those the bottom oil return line was just a nightmare to get off. But pretty much now we're just gonna have to swap this over to the new one, this over to the new one. This bracket, which was stripped, we're gonna have to put on to the new one as well. But when we were taking this apart, look at this, man. Look at those freaking chips off on the blade. Look at that, man. So something was definitely going on with this.
There's a lot of play here. I don't know if that's Normal or not?
Yeah, I'm not too knowledgeable about how the turbos, you know, are assembled and all the specs and everything, but I know that for a fact that this is all grooved up. So as you can see, there's marring on the inside, so this stuff was definitely rubbing. But it's weird because there's nothing on the intake side of things, on the cold side, so nothing came in and, you know, came out on the exhaust, otherwise there would be damage on that side. So definitely something broke off or something on the hot side of the turbo, and it just caused mayhem in there. So yeah, I don't really know the answer to that. It's a little concerning. I'm gonna have to look into it a little bit more, but for the video's sake, we're gonna swap this over to the new one, and then really it's just gonna be a reverse procedure. We'll start swapping this stuff over and we'll get to it. Pretty much like I was mentioning, it's time to swap some things over. We're gonna take this turbo muffler delete by EQT and just take those out by those Allen bolts there, break them loose. And then of course we're gonna be reusing this diverter valve here. And those are also Allen keys. We have a spacer in there, so we'll be taking that off. And so as I was mentioning, this O-ring I bought already because it gets warped and stretched. So we're going to discard that one. Got kind of flat. And we'll just clean this up and set that to the side. And let's finish taking off this diverter valve. Voila. Clean all this stuff up, make it look pretty, and put this in a new one. So this is our brand new gasket that we got. If you got the EQT discharge pipe and turbo muffler delete, it will come with this gasket, but if not, I will link it down below. It's one of the best things to have. It sits right in there. Be so careful. Boom. Put these bolts in. We got the turbo all pretty much assembled and ready to go. Next, we're going to take some of our lines, the coolant lines, return lines. We're going to take these O-rings off and just replace them with the supplied ones by EQT. Definitely replace these. They give them to you. There's no point to not use them, even if they inspect good. Just replace them. You don't want to do these again. Clean up the groove a little bit. Let's put the new one in. Boom, just like that. Got that one. There's the old one. It kind of got flattened out a little bit, so definitely good on that. Then here's the one that's for the coolant. Ow. And then there's some still on the car, which we'll go ahead and replace as well. But these I just did because it's easily able to see it. And bam, new one's in. Those two are fresh. We'll go ahead and do the ones on the car and pretty much get ready for the next step. That one, and then we'll do this one here. This pick is so
When does your snap-on truck come?
Tuesdays. Time to warranty that. Those two out of the way. Alright, so as you can see, we just got the turbo kind of mounted up. We got all the lines going, connected, and then we put the new nuts that are holding the turbo flange together. The last thing we gotta do is put up this little bracket, and of course EQT was nice enough to give us new hardware and washers, so we'll put those brand new ones in, and then everything's pretty much good to go. The only thing I have an issue with is I got the wastegate pre-installed and calibrated, and I guess since they use an IS-20 version instead of, this is an IS-38, the original one, this connector does not reach. So keep that in mind if you are doing pre-existing, like if you had an IS-38 car rather than the IS-20, you will have to get an extension, so we're gonna have to order that up, which is unfortunate because no one told us that, and it wasn't, you know, an option or anything. So definitely, you know, if you're watching this EQT, definitely change that and make sure you know to notify people that they're going to need that adapter. So we're going to go ahead and put this bracket in, and we'll get you guys in the next set. So we ended up getting the charge pipe in and that turbo inlet piping. We didn't film that because it's pretty much the same way you removed it. But I am going to leave the intake off because, like I said, I'm going to have to get that little adapter down there. And right now, I guess I'm just going to do the spark plugs. I got my brand new NGK ones here, so I'm going to remove those old ones right there. Got my handy dandy snap on right here. Let's break them loose. I think I broke these loose the other day because they are not tight. Actually, not that bad. I mean, I only did these maybe 15,000 miles ago. That one's a little worse, but so far no oil. That one's getting worse. Seems like they're just getting worse and worse, but bad. There's the oil. And we're gonna get a little bit of an oil there, but that's okay. I'll clean that up in there, and let's go ahead and put the new ones in, and we'll torque them down, and that will be that. And we'll start buttoning up this coolant crossover line. We'll get all this wiring in place. Of course, our catch can set up, and that's really it. Alright, so we got the coil packs in. Now we're just going to route this coolant crossover line just the same way it came out. Got the bolt here, and then there's a bolt down here that I gotta just get off. I always place them where they belong. So this is going to go up under here, over that, under there. And that will mount up right in there like that. And this is going to go down here. And these are all going to just go straight across, so. So that's going to conclude today's video. We just went ahead and buttoned up everything up top. We got all the coolant lines. The next thing you're really going to do, which we're going to hold off for right now, is put some coolant in. We're going to change the oil, and then of course we'll put this on, like I said, once we get that connector and then that exhaust clamp. But essentially, if you have no issues there and no other issues, you can put the coolant in, get it warmed up, let the thermostat open up so you get all the coolant in into the every little crevice and get all the air pockets out of the way. And then this base map that they provide you with, you could daily drive on it, just don't beat it. And of course send your data login and revisions to Matt at EQT. But yeah, overall this job isn't the hardest. It's tedious. You just have to really work with it. A lot of these lines, those O-rings, like I said, they get stuck and really corrode it in the turbo housing itself, so you just have to be careful and really take your time and you'll get them out. Use WD-40 or any kind of penetrating oil. But if you have any questions, let us know. I know the camera died a couple times, and we just kind of gave up on filming because it was just kicking our ass. But yeah, you'd get this done in a weekend, literally a day if you start early enough. But that's going to wrap up today's video. If you have any questions, let us know. Comment. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new. And hopefully the following video will be first impressions and really getting this thing up to the test and seeing what it can do. So we'll see you in the next one. Peace.